So, do we go with what the white paper has reviewed, or do we go with the sentiments of people? Because this is a very controversial issue right now. The state governor is saying this, and then the people are saying another thing entirely. So what is your view on that? Which do we go for now?
Thank you very much, Salako. First of all, the white paper in contention is has been something that has been questioned, about its legality. This morning, the senior advocate of Nigeria, and that's Femi Falana, says that Section 15 of panel of inquiry law that is being set up does not give any room for editing, alteration, or on anything unwarranted in any panel report. Once a panel has been established, has been churned in their report, what is left within the context of the law, according to the senior advocate, is to implement the panel report, not to in turn bring out another white paper. So legally speaking, I would want to believe that a senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, cannot be wrong to say that there is no need for any of bringing up of a white paper to reevaluate what has been churned in findings. The report was churned in, and the governor itself is one that inaugurated this panel of inquiry led by retired Justice Okobi. So coming out to say you want to bring out the white paper in it, then you begin to say that one person is the one that is confirmed to be killed, then the other 8 are not correct. Then if it is in that manner, one would have begin to wonder why the panel of inquiry in the first place.
So speaking about senior advocate of Nigeria, Festus Keyamo.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about
yes, Festus Keyamo. He said it is illegal for Lagos State to even set up a panel in the first place, because according to him, it is wrong for a state governor to set up a panel to inquire about something that has to do with the federal government's jurisdiction.
No, this is a federal system of government. The senior advocate, I don't know what on the context of which he's talking about, but this is a federal system. Even though we are not truly implementing full-fledged federal system, but what I understand appropriately is that the state is a sovereign state. Okay, the governor has the power, to control the state in terms of security and any other form of security apparatus that is, domiciled in the state. In the context of our system of government, which I would describe as a presidential, in form of a federal system, it is not supposed to be so. A state under a federal system of government must be controlled by the governor, whether in security and all that. Let me quickly take you back to one of the contextual issues regarding who controls the security. The former governor of Zamfara State once said that he's resigning, as a chief security officer. But the Constitution of the Federal Republic, 1999 Constitution, give room, for who is the chief security officer of each state within the federation, which is the governor. So, but the implementation of who is going to be controlling the state in terms of security is exactly what it is in context. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the issue of state policing is why we are still in this manner on that issue we have not discussed in circle, that is, who should control. The state government should control every apparatus within the state under the federal system of government. There are many contextual issues regarding that. Even the federal inland revenue issue is still under this context. Who is controlling? Somebody will be in federal and say, okay, he wants to come and be collecting revenue from the state, even though I was told that other countries in the world, this is how they do. But the fact of the matter is that once you are operating a system, a federal system, the state must be in control of all that is needed to be controlled.
Okay, but let us now take a look at the white paper report itself. Yes. It was described as assumptions, speculations, and some things were in there that were contradictory. For example, in the white paper report, it said that one person that came out as a witness was also numbered under people that were killed.
Yes.
So this type of inconsistency,
Yes.
should we not agree with the white paper report that perhaps the judicial panel have not done a 100% job on the inquiry?
You see, even in the report, there's what we call massacre, to which public opinion out there, you know, criticize and all that. But when I went through Adegburuwa's own submission, the senior advocate of Nigeria, I discovered that in his own context of a definition that he got in the dictionary, the way massacre is defined illustrates what they submitted using the word massacre. Now you are talking about the white paper on what again?
In the inconsistencies?
On the inconsistencies. You see, in the first place, let us look at it from the legal aspect or angle of it. What is the white paper according to the law? According to section 15 of the anything that has to do with panel inquiry, Falana made us to know that there is no anything that must be called white paper after you have inaugurated a panel of inquiry. So the issue of white paper, to me, I don't understand. Although in the Leonard senior advocate, he said that there are discrepancies in what's it called, the computer typo. There are typo errors and all that. But indeed, the fact of the matter is that we must know that the report is under the law legal. But the white paper report, we must first of all know whether it is legal or not. So on what I stand is what the senior advocate have said, Femi Falana, that there is nothing like that is called white. Once a panel of inquiry is set up, you don't need to alter anything there. It should be given, and what is next honorably is to see how the implementation of all, you know, is processed.
Okay, all right.
So the white paper thing, I would want to be silent about it, because there's nothing like there's no any verdict, you know, in the court that says such is not right, such is right. But yes, from what we gathered from all the learned counsels, the senior advocate, they said that the white paper is not needful. So what is needful is more of the implementation of the findings.
Okay, this is getting very interesting, but we'll be going on a very short break right now, and when we come back, we'll be getting more perspective on the white paper report. We'll be right back.
Since the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, received the controversial leaked report from the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry for police brutality and other related matters. In a press conference with newsmen on Tuesday, the Lagos State Governor says the release of the white paper will bring closure to the state.
As an administration, are determined that the next steps that will be taken in this process of coming to terms with the events of October 2020 must bring closure to a painful episode in the history of our state with the release of a white paper later today.
While commending members of the panel, the governor, however, shows his disdain for the heated reactions from the report, promising that the white paper will be solely
Welcome back, and I'm glad to introduce our second guest. That is Mr. Oshiomole Inume, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much for being here.
My privilege.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So, before your arrival, we were talking about the Lagos State White Paper released on the EndSARS judicial report. So, what are your thoughts on the white paper? Is it legal? Because Segun seems to be of the opinion that there should not even be a white paper report to begin with.
Yeah, thanks once again. The white paper, we had a horrible event of the 8th of October 2020. And the president ordered or advised state governors to constitute panel of inquiries, judicial panel of inquiries, to unravel and in such a way find ways to reconcile, you know, the aggrieved parties and the government. So that is in a way to restore trust. Now, having done that, the initial time in timeline ought to be for 6 months. So it dragged on to become a year and 3 weeks. Now, having concluded all that, we found situations where some key actors decided not to honor the invitation of the panel. Of course, they had terms of reference, and with that, I believe someone somewhere had to look into the report, whether white paper or whatever else. And as it turned out to be, we discovered there were errors, you know, unavoidable errors, which even the panel member owned to, that, oh, humanly, you expect such things. So, but the essence of the white paper, I'm sure, is to vet and go over what they did. So, should we say they were justified? Because if it had been adopted as presented, there would have been issues. For instance, we had errors of omission and duplication.
Yes.
So, does that justify the white paper? I wouldn't know. Legally, maybe not. But morally, maybe.
Well, okay now. So, in the public domain, some people are of the opinion that the state governor might be under pressure to align with what the federal government has said earlier about the Lekki massacre. What are your thoughts on this?
Playing to the gallery?
Yes.
Yeah. Some will say for security reasons, there are things you don't just throw at the public. Maybe for security reasons. But then if you look at the reports of the panel, like 24th resolution and maybe 23rd or 25th, thereabout, they ask the state government to adjudicate or implement on issues that are under exclusive item now, you know, whereas it is the federal government that can prosecute or probe the military. You understand? Another item there, but rightly so, the state government made it through their white paper that they have no power under so resolution, the other resolution, they itemize them that we cannot act under the constitutions on this. But then, and they referred such to the federal government. They promised they will forward such to the appropriate quarters, to the military, and to the... Now, let's go back to the terms of reference. If you go back to look at the terms of reference of the panel, they were not supposed to invite the military. The terms of reference was made clear. The members of the SARS, the police, and every other one. I wouldn't know what happened, and they seemed to overlap, and then went ahead to invite a major general, so it became a contrasting issue.
Okay, so do you agree with Festus Keyamo that the judicial panel set up is illegal because it is not in the state government's jurisdiction to try to probe office of the federal government?
If he said that, that means he indicted the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because the president asked all the state governors where the issue of ex-NSAS almost caused anarchy to constitute judicial panel of inquiries. So maybe Festus Keyamo son insinuated that the president erred, and he indicted his boss, and he actually practically assumed that the president didn't know what he was doing. Yeah.
Okay, well, he made it very clear that he's speaking from his office as a senior advocate of Nigeria and not as the Federal Minister of State for Labor and Employment.
I take objection to that, because when you are a serving cabinet member, you should know what to say to the press and what not to say. And if it contradicts the rules of engagement, then you just practically indicted your boss or yourself. Now, the Attorney General, who ought to speak for government, I'm not sure, he hasn't said anything. Then you went out there discrediting what went on for a year and what was practically ordered by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. I think the only area I will say that the panel, judicial panel of inquiry had was probably overlapping their terms of reference, not Festus Keyamo's son coming out to declare it illegal. Then that is contradictory.
Okay, so since there seems to be a lot of controversy on the white paper report, and people, well, a lot of people are not really, I'm not open-hearted 100% to the white paper. But Segun, do you feel like it's the governor's way of doing a carrot and stick approach of throwing out some of the things the judicial report brought and bringing up the idea of a peace walk?
I didn't really get that question again.
Do you feel like it's a sort of carrot and stick approach from the governor? Why throwing out a part of the judicial report and saying, okay, let's have a peace walk? Or do you feel like...
Again, you know, I will told the part of the legality aspect of it, which is that the white paper thing, to me, lacks local standing. Okay? But again, if we must look at it morally, I would say that what the governor, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, he has a very good intention, you know, about the whole thing. But, you know, the way and manner he was going about it, you know, I would blame his advisors, you know. But what I would have loved to see is to thank the panel of inquiry and to go into closed section with them to see how this report would be implemented with them. They have a senior advocate among them. The idea of a carrot and stick approach does not come at all. If you have sincerity of purpose on this thing, you don't need to publicize the findings of a white paper or anything. All you need to do is, if issues of a typographic error is there, you bring them back, let them know what the Attorney General has found to be what skirmishes or what is not really good in it in terms of typographical error. Send it back to them, let them bring it in. Then the Attorney General of the state and the senior advocate, both of them are of the senior body of bench, senior advocate of Nigeria. They can be able to look at it and see how they can really implement it, you know, in a more focused manner, where it will not be allowed to degenerate into public domain, where everybody will now begin to put one or two things in it. You know, the governor should have done that, calling the panel of inquiry into confidence and bring the Attorney General of the state into it and look at it and ask what can be done. They are both senior lawyers. They would give advice for in as much as what we want to do is for the interest of the Nigerian people, the Lagos inhabitants, Nigerian people, the civil society. He, Adegburuwa, is from the civil society. He would give good recommendation and ideas. The Attorney General would look at it, and if that would indict the government, he would come up to say that it is not going to be okay this way. Let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way, and eventually it will be harmonized, and there will be a leeway for both the public and the government.
From what you are saying, if I'm correct,
yes,
is it that the judicial report
Yes.
should not have been made public in the first
The
place.
judicial report should have been made public, but before it is made public, what they have turned to public, what is now out there is allowing people to bring out different kind of opinion. You know, even politics are drove into it. I have a lot of followers on my Facebook who are of this APC and PDP status. They are driving it out from political aspect. Some of them are even insulting the senior advocate. Is it wrong for a senior advocate to come out with to be invited and come up with the findings of this nature? Somebody who is a lawyer of high repute and is coming to be part of it. Many of them are not even graduates. Sincerely, but they will come and put it because Facebook has given a platform. Then you will see them coming to talk. Some of us who have more than 2 degrees, you know, you can imagine somebody who is just a groundnut seller will come and begin to bring up one rubbish point, you know. But instead of us to look at it and, you know, greet these people for even when they wanted to inaugurate this panel, Adegboruwa did not accept that. Invitation initially. He said he wanted to consult. He knew what the government is capable of doing before he decided to take up that thing. So we should be able to give them that credit and see how those things can be harmonized, you know, amicably in a closed door, after which everybody would have agreed. Then you can churn out the report for everybody to say something about it.
Would you agree that the reason we are having this problem is because this judicial report is backed with a lot of emotions and sentiments that a lot of people would rather align with what the human angle aspect rather than the logical aspect?
Now let me tell you what happened. You see, what the purpose of that white paper has a motive that we may not see. The white paper is more of countering what the findings were. Why would you be countering what the findings of a report of a judicial panel require? Okay. Are you getting my point? Now, if that report is coming out, I think there should have been an understanding between the Justice Okwobi's panel and the Lagos State government. Instead of coming out to start saying this is not, this is yes, this is yes, now you allow the Nigerian people to start picking holes from it.
I think the white paper was inevitable. Is my sincere opinion about that. For instance, when you look at, we spoke about terms of reference. They overshot the terms of reference, firstly by inviting the military. It wasn't part of it. But it was a necessity, but it wasn't part of the terms of reference. But then, when you look at the fourth recommendation, that's advised the government to facilitate bail. It was as if the panel was advising the governor or the state government to circumvent the law. For instance, you ask in your report you submitted to make sure that those who were arrested, of course, hoodlums are among those that were arrested, and if you recommend that I should make sure those people were maybe released, or, you know, that's like trying to encroach on the due process, judicial due process. Then when you look at the fifth recommendation as well, you know, that in the future that the military should no longer be invited. Yes. And the white paper, through the white paper, the state government said no, that it was already degenerating to and becoming a threat to anarchy. You understand? Thereby, the military had to be invited. So what we are saying in essence here is that the white paper was a child of necessity that had to look into what they did. But whether it was done in good faith or with ulterior motives is another thing entirely. But I think it was inevitable. 6 months was the initial timeline to conclude. It dragged on to 1 year and 3 weeks. So what we are saying here, and it was still all obvious error all over on that report. So imagine if it has to be harmonized and all that. Of course, That's why I said if the harmonization and the vetting is what you call white paper, so be it.
Does Shogun not
Now,
have
let me,
errors?
I just want to add to what he has said, even though I will not agree completely on what he said. I am a student of government. When I'm sleeping, if you ask me, I can train anybody on government. First of all, we have said before you came here about what is federal system of government. Nigeria is operating federal system of government. The governor under this law, 1999 Constitution, he can wake up today and grant prerogative of mercy to any of those people that was arrested, you know, that is inside the Kirikiri prison or whichever prison. He can today grant them prerogative of mercy in the way the president can do. Are you getting my point? So that recommendation, the senior advocate and the justice Okobi, they know what they are talking about. So demand for His Excellency to look inward, to see part of what the healing balm can come to reality if all these things, why would a senior advocate recommend and a retired justice recommend, you know, a thing of such that my colleague just said now, and you think they don't know that the governor has a power to do it? I don't know, getting my point. So the governor has the power. Go and check the 1999 Constitution. He has the power to grant those people bail. It's part of the healing balm. So the Nigerian people, part of what they are saying on social media, I'm an online person, what they are saying is that we want to do the work for peace. Why part of working for peace is releasing those people that have been held captive for more than 1 year inside. So part of the recommendation says they should release them. And when you release them, it shows that a commitment has been made. Then when you say, okay, you want to work for peace, you can now come out to say, okay, I have asked these people, this part of the recommendation, we have followed it, we want to do work for peace. There will be a justification. See, let me tell you the fact. The governor has every power to do a lot. Now, he talked about the military. The military, in as much as the president is the commander-in-chief of armed forces, do you know there are clauses within the law, new Army Act now, that restrain the president on a lot of issues, that he must consent with the National Assembly before he take action on the military? Do you know that now? The two-thirds majority of the House must confirm any chief of army staff appointment before he can become a chief of army staff in all the service chiefs, including the EFCC chairman. There must be two-thirds agreement in the National Assembly, in the Senate specifically, for the chairman to become the chairman of a commission. The chief of army staff, for it to become chief of army staff, there must be two-thirds appendage of the two-thirds in the Senate. So everything has clauses. Yes, the governor does not have the power, but the governor can institute a legal action to show that what they have done is wrong, or see how that area can be harmonized between those panel inquiry members and the government. That is what I'm saying.
I think the whole judicial panel of inquiry wouldn't have brought any kind of disagreement of sort. If not for maybe 1 or 2 recommendations. For instance, the 24th recommendation as well, that advised the government to see that event at Lekki Toll Gate as massacre. I think that is the main issue of the whole report, that see it as massacre. And no, this wasn't a massacre. Every other ones can actually be harmonized, common ground reached on most of the rest. There's no one who is above mistakes in interpreting the law or whatever. So even the panel did a good one again by the 6th recommendation, where they advised the government to also make sure the social media is a bit regulated. These are things, brilliant jobs they did. But the main thing of this report that is causing so much of disaffection is declaring what happened there as massacre. They actually even recommended that a monument be built there. And they said no. Actually, if people died, maybe not necessarily at the Lekki Toll Gate, they were shot. No one would dispute that. People were shot. But did they die at Lekki Toll Gate is another issue.
Yes.
Then, when we are talking about issue of miscreants hijacking the whole process. I witnessed this firsthand. There was no way, whether from Oshodi going, you will pay toll to get from street to street. Migrants and hoodlums obviously sponsored, again, you understand, they hijacked this process and made it unbearable for citizens.
Okay, so
if they were now in the prisons and a recommendation says, can we please facilitate their release? How do you feel about that?
Again,
it's a bit contradictory.
Again, let me come in again. There is what we call findings and investigation. You know, you said something which is key. There are infiltration of touts when that EndSARS started, and there are areas, you know, that government to play the role that we would not want to dwell on it now.
Yeah, because the governor himself said speculation.
Yes, so they played a role. Now that's on that. Now,
maybe unknown soldiers.
Yes, he played. The government played a role in that area. So findings would reveal those that are innocently arrested. Findings would reveal those that are having, you know, culpability in taking laws into their hand. There will be a dichotomy of two of them when investigation begins. So from there, the government will be able to know who are culpable, who are truly an EndSARS agitationist. So we will be able to define from there. That is the work of security agents. Now number two, massacre. He mentioned massacre. Before he came, you know, I've discussed about massacre. I would not even blame the senior advocate on that, because if you check it, massacre, the word massacre is relative. There are many dictionary definitions of massacre. Now he, in his report, gave his own, where he got his definition of massacre in that report, that they both agreed from the panel to use the word massacre. And in that dictionary definition, he used those keywords to buttress his point. I can send you his report on what he pasted on Facebook. So if you look at that report, you would know that he basically talked about his own dictionary definition of massacre and buttressed his point with that. So if the word massacre is not they are not comfortable with it, I think this can be an in-house harmonization.
So define what massacre really is?
Yeah, no, in the report, these are, if I were the governor, this matter will not even come out to this extent. I've said it inter alia. There will be another in-house committee that will sit with the panel of inquiry, because we are having, it must be stated that our aim is hitting at a goal. So everybody must know that whatever we are doing here is to see that the Nigerian people are happy and those victims are adequately compensated, and they have a feeling. Like in the report, one of the findings of the report says that they should immortalize those people that died. So part of it in all they would have sat would have been that they come together and harmonize this thing, and before you know, the Nigerian people will be happy with all parties.
Isn't this about time that we add accurate data? Because concerning people who were arrested, it's something that could easily be done. Run their names to see if they have criminal record, or this is just a normal person who came out to protest. We have data problem in Nigeria, although we are trying not to gather data.
Again, if you watch, I told you there are many things behind the scene. The CNN report brought the Brigadier General Taiwo said they use canisters and not live bullets, but the CNN report picked some live bullets, and they did their findings and discovered that the bullets were brought in 2016 from Serbia. So if you don't have intention of killing, why bringing a live bullet into a place you saw that these are unarmed individuals who are agitating for a particular cause? And what is the cause? This is a cause that if I'm the president, it won't take me 5 days to finalize. And what? EndSARS. Why are they calling for EndSARS? They are saying some of the police brutally, kill them, brutally shoot indiscriminately, and that no justice at the end of the day. Once 2, 3, 4 is served in justice, you can be rest assured these things we are calling NSAS will go naturally die. You die natural death. So the government has a lot of job to do. Whether NSAS come today or does not come, the reality is staring the Nigerian people on the face. Whether the white paper comes, whether it's not coming, the reality is and you know, the men in their recommendation again, they said that they should rehabilitate the police. These are key factors that they are supposed to look at.
We all agreed the overall, the panel report was a good job, except 1 or 2 recommendations that didn't go well with the establishments. But then let's look at the issue of this, what do we call it? The military intervention. It got to a point that government saw that as insurrection. That was unfortunate aspect of it. Now, you saw people's agitation, peaceful agitation. Whether 50 columnists were right there at the background trying to supply fast food for people is another thing. You caused it as a government. But one thing about democracy is that people have the right to voice opinion and opinions. Even an infant has the right to cry, you know, and that's when the mom will then attend to him or her. So what we say here is that the moment the government saw the peaceful protest as insurrection, and the soldiers had to be drafted, not daytime, but at night with live ammunition, then anarchy was bound to happen. And God must be a Nigerian. Things like that, a fraction of it will not even happen in some climes, and it will lead to something else. We just have to continue to thank God for His mercy on us in this country, because that's why I said the white paper was out there to vet and check maybe what the panic came about, and to point out that, look, we will refer this to the federal government, we will act on this. Oh, you were right about this? No, we won't take this. But the way they went about it didn't obviously go down with people. That no, you can't just come and rubbish people. Oh, there was a massacre, we said it. Yes. And the government must take a whole lot of steps to make sure there is confidence building amongst the citizenry. To make sure when you say something, there are a whole lot of things government is doing.
Must do.
That is doing and must do, that people do not care about. Go and sit down. You know, it was a building in railway. Which road is it doing? It is not as if they do not want it. The mistrust has gone so bad that no matter the level of good intention, it will not be appreciated by them.
Will always be
and abuse of power. When you have a senator sitting down in 30 days, accumulating close to 13 million naira for himself, you understand? And that same law chases around some people, you understand? Maybe for having dreadlocks or for being suspected Yahoo boys and all that. We are not saying Yahoo is good or the other is good, but the same law must be applicable in equal proportion to everyone.
Yes, so this reminds me of what happened in Argentina in 2001.
Okay.
In 3 weeks, they had about 5 presidents.
You are correct.
And the reason for that was because of political and economic instability. That is very similar to what we are having in Nigeria. But I would say Nigerians are very resilient people, regardless of everything that is happening. For over the years, that was the first time people came out in masses to really protest what is going on in the country. So I guess the root of everything now is just to be fixed. What everyone was clamoring for during the protest, we want good governance, we want something good, and if that is taken care of, perhaps a repeat of this and this argument of white paper, no white paper judicial panel, perhaps we will not have a repeat of
maybe
such.
that should throw up the question of what has changed. What has changed? What has changed? Nothing much has changed, to be fair. to the citizens. Nothing much has changed. When you, on my way down here, you will find about 3 illegal checkpoints of police, broad daylight. Not necessarily, you know, you have in the within 100 meters 3 police checkpoints, and I won't say beyond that. It is the job of the police commissioner, of the local government chairman, of commissioner, who also pass through all this and see the way we see, to act on that, on those. You know, like, you cannot make life unbearable and miserable for citizens and expect them to be patriotic.
Yes.
It does not work that way.